Hello YouTube, welcome to another video within our Performante YouTube channel. So this video we're going to go over BTC and Ethereum, so these two coins here. We talked about Matic last time, price pushed up, no entry, still patiently waiting until a good entry point. So let's not wait any longer and let's get right into the BTC analysis. So we're going to start off with the weekly, quickly talking about the head and shoulders here that we see. And we talked about this a long time, so hopefully you guys are following along with the analysis. This is the support that we bounced off twice. We see the first bounce here, second bounce here, and then we see the push to the downside, pull back to validate it as a new resistance, and I think we're going to see our next push to the downside because we have multiple zones of confluence for this potential pullback and then a push to the downside. So the first one is going to be obviously the key zone of support and resistance from the neckline, and we'll talk about the other zones of confluence when we get into the smaller time frames. So what I do want to talk about is the potential zones of supports that we could see on the way down. So let's get our handy trend line and just connect the higher lows here, and this is going to be for me the potential zone for the first level of support where we could hesitate to go lower. And the reason why it's here is because we actually use the same zone to actually spot out the reverse head and shoulders and make some profits on this pullback. Now this is going to be a zone that I'm not going to have too much value in because there is a lot of room, and because of the head and shoulders being so valid, breaking, retesting, it's just looking like a picture perfect situation. So that's the minor zone of support that we could see. And then the next key zone that I'm looking at is going to be this zone right here. This is the zone that everyone's talking about, the 6K zone, and it's for good reason because it's such a key zone, technically speaking, on the chart. We see in basically all of 2018 and a little bit at the end of 2017, we see the price bounce, and then we finally broke, and then we used that same zone as a new resistance. So there's a lot of sensitivity on this zone. Also, let's look back at the Coinbase chart. BLX is the best chart to talk about the long-term price of Bitcoin, but just in this example, we will talk about the Coinbase long-term chart. So let's get our curve here. And this, you can tell, is easier to spot on the BLX chart, but we are going to talk about it here as well. So this is all the way back from December of 2014. We see the lows here making higher low, higher low, higher low. We are connecting them right here, and it's looking like a very, very well-respected zone where we have a zone of confluence right here. Now for me, this is going to be the bottom. I'm going to call, this is my personal call, and it's going to be around 58, 59, somewhere around there. Obviously, I can't name it on the dot, but just understanding where buyer is going to be a key zone for us. So this is the head and shoulders, very, very well respected, right? And then we saw a break to the downside, a retest, and I think we're going to see the last push to the downside to around this zone here. Very, very plausible. And we would fulfill basically the retest of this zone, which would be pretty ideal to enter, and then we'll go to the upside. Now you're probably asking, this zone is not like it's bedrock, it could break. Now, if we do break this zone, I'm definitely going to say that almost all confidence is lost from the bulls in the short term, and we could see the fall, which is our next support zone, which is going to be around the previous resistance right here, which is going to be a minor zone. So this is the next minor zone that we'll see. And then we'll go to our very low, which is going to be here. And this is going to be the next major zone because we see it be used as a previous support like this. So the minor zone is going to be around the 43, 42, and then the next major zone is going to be around the 32, 33 area. So there's a long way to go, but I'm definitely going to think that there's going to be buyers here picking it up, and this is my speculation for the future. I think we will drop to around this zone. We will slowly crawl back out, and then once we break this zone, we will definitely gain some momentum. But the key zone I'm looking to break, personally, is this zone right here. The 11K, 12K zone is going to be, for me, the point where we start really gaining some bullish momentum. Now, because we're talking about the daily, we could have a ton of movement here, and it could be some great trading opportunities. We're not just looking to long here. Obviously, we're looking at the weekly, so we'll trade using the 1 hour and 4 hour mainly when we're in this area, but that's the long-term price action that I'm able to see for BTC. So now that we talked about the macro kind of analysis that I'm able to see for this chart, we will now go from the weekly to the daily and discuss what I'm able to see here. So we did enter this reverse head and shoulders, got a little push up, and then the descending trend line pushed it right back down. Now this is the zone of confluence that we talked about before, but we already tested this once. And the reason why I longed is because this is one massive impulse move to the downside. There's no real pullback here at all. And what do we need in the market? We need to let it breathe. We need pullbacks. We need impulse moves. It's a movement. It's a wave. It's not going to be a straight line from A, B, C, D. The market is going to take its time. It's going to ebb and flow. And we know that, and that's why we knew that there was going to be some level of a pullback. Now, I didn't know how long this pullback was going to last. It could have theoretically gone to around this zone here, and I still would have been bearish because this zone right here would have still kept the price low. I didn't know that, and I was speculating that yes, we could hit the zone, but if we do pass it, I'm looking for a real winner. That's like 10, 12, 15% to around this zone here, and that would have been a phenomenal trade. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. We got stuffed here, which is going to give me even more of a confirmation that there's going to be bears in the market. So it took a little 5% trade, not a problem, and we are looking more for the bear trend now, or the bearish momentum, which is looking really good for us right now. So let's talk about the 4 hour, because the daily is not too interesting compared to what we can talk about the 4 hour. So this is the projection zone, which for me is going to be the lifeline for our trade, for our short. So we're seeing the price push to the downside. We're seeing more sell volume start to come in. There was a lot of buy volume when we were seeing higher highs and higher lows, but now that we're seeing lower lows and lower highs, we're seeing more sell volume come in, which is good for our short. And what I also see is after that push to the downside, I'm seeing the price trying to make it back up. We can zoom right in here and we can see that we're trying to get the price to come back above the resistance zone. We see a long wick protruding out of the body here, but it's getting rejected right back down, not being able to pass this zone. We tried to do it, could not succeed, broke back down, and the price did hold. The bulls are still trying to hold it, still trying to make a push to the upside. We do see a wick here, kind of like we saw a long wick here, and then soon after the wick, we are seeing a push to the downside. We're not seeing a whole lot of sell volume come in. This is about just under 2 hours on the 4 hour chart, so we still have 2 hours to go on this 4 hour chart. So I still think that we could push to the downside, and we could even draw in a nice little trend line here. And this is our first trend line right here, and then our second trend line is going to be right here. We saw it break the first trend line, and I think the next break is going to be a lot more aggressive. We saw 1 rejection, 2 rejection, and I think that's going to really give it a lot of push and a lot of momentum to try to break this little support zone right here. So this is a little support zone that I see right now, and if the price can hold below the zone, I think we will see the push to the downside to continue on. Now for longs, I'm not even thinking about longing anytime soon. The only time I'm going to long is if we see a break to the upside. If we see a break to the upside, yeah, I might enter some around here, but ideally, because we've been entering in such a descending zone and a descending momentum, I'd like to see it validate as a new support before actually making our next impulse move to the upside. Lots of long ways away. I'm not really looking for any longs, like I said before, so let's just focus on what we're focusing on, which is our shorts. So let's go to the 1 hour to really nail down where we entered and where we're looking to take profits. We won't talk about profits on the 1 hour chart. We already talked about where we're looking for our take profits, even talking about the weekly, like right around here. If we do get that short here, I'm definitely holding on. I'm going to have a lot of patience around this zone here, and I'm really wanting to see the price maybe around the 58, 59 zone. So I'm going to be very, very patient with this, which is around here. So that's a huge move if we actually are able to capture it. 20, 19%, that would be phenomenal. So where did we enter? Let's zoom in a little bit more. So right when we broke the ascending projection, this guy right here, right when we broke this, I was looking for shorts, definitely. the price was squeezing close together. The shorts were the sellers were squeezing here, and the buyers were squeezing here. The price made a decision to go to the downside. What I was looking for is the price to pull back and enter this zone here. This is a key zone of confluence. We have the descending zone, the ascending zone, and the horizontal zone all in the short side. So I was ideally looking for shorts here, could not make it. So what did I do? Once I saw this rejection, this guy right here, the price could not make it to this zone here. That was an indication for me, wow, there's a lot of short sellers here and we're not seeing buy volume. So for me, that was a key indication, or I might not be able to get my fill all the way up here. But I will do is not enter my full position until I see a great opportunity, or I look for another opportunity in another pair, and that's exactly what I did. So what did I do? I entered short right around here. After this failed, I waited for the price to come back a little bit higher. We do see wicks all along the top here, and that was my entry. All right, I'm going short. I do have a stop loss above this zone. I'm encompassing this whole zone. So let's go right here. I'm encompassing this whole zone. So I have a pretty wide stop loss, but like I said before, my take profit is going to be pretty far down there. So let's just go to 6K. Right around there. My risk reward is 4, just at 6K. And like I said, I might go to 59, 58, so not a whole lot more, but that is a very, very phenomenal risk reward. And if I am trading other altcoins, I can even gain more exposure with more volatile coins. So that's what I'm looking at for the shorter kind of next week, this week type situation for BTC, unless something happens. But if we just continue on with the price action and the price kind of falls along here, or if it dumps, my trade is looking phenomenal, my alt is looking phenomenal, so everything is going according to plan. If we get a massive pump randomly, which in the crypto market, hey, it could happen, I will be stopped out. Totally all right. I have accepted it before I even taken the trade, and then I'll look for longs. But until that happens, I'm not really going to look for longs, and I'm going to continue with my short bias. Now that we talked about BTC, we will now go to Ethereum. So this is the 1 hour chart. We will go to the weekly and zoom right out here, and let's just take off those tools. So let's look on this chart. I'm going to go over this pretty briefly. It's getting a little bit late, but we do see a key zone of support right here. And there was a previous resistance, new support. Now it's going to be a new level of resistance. We also see on the weekly high, lower high, lower high, low, lower low, lower low. The market structure is in our direction. We are right below a key level of resistance after a major move to the downside. And for me, this is looking really good for the overall market trend in a short bias. So let's now go to the daily, and looking from the weekly to the daily, this is a pretty picture perfect pullback. We got a push to the downside, very strong volume. We got a pullback, and we see less buy volume coming in as the price trends up. This is a very, very healthy pullback on a bearish impulse move down. Now, if we saw increasing buy volume, it would be a different story, right? Because you see people accumulating the coin. But in this situation, people are not buying in as time goes on. They're buying less and less because their confidence is decreasing. That's what you want to see, right? A huge part of the markets is just confidence. And once you understand how to understand the volume and understand how to extrapolate the confidence from the volume and the price action, the understanding of which way the price could go will make it, or will be a lot easier, in my opinion. So that's a very, very simple overlook of the price action right now. And let's just zoom in a little bit further out so we get our nice line. Let's just make it a little more precise right around there. And let's just encompass that little candle right there. So I'm looking at these wicks here, that wick there, and that wick's not ideal, but that's totally all right. So that is our short, or that is our resistance for the potential short. And we will now go into the 4 hour and discuss the smaller time frames. So what do we see here? Let's just leave this right here. I'll just leave it right there. That's totally fine. So what we also see is going to be a demand zone, which is right around here as well. So we have a supply zone, and now we have a demand zone. And what do we see? We see a lower high, lower high, lower high, a lower high. So let's just jump down to the 1 hour and then draw in our nice descending trend line that's connecting the lower highs. It's the zone right here. And let's just use a projection on this baby. Just like so, and that is our trade. So this is a descending triangle. We have a support, And we even see a support be right here as well. Let's just make this a little bit higher, just like that. And then we have a support, and we're getting lower highs. So the price is squeezing towards the support, and the support is just holding it horizontally. The buyers are not really seeing the price movement upwards. They're just barely holding on, trying to keep it from going below the 146-ish range. So now that we talked about more of the granular details, let's jump back to the 4-hour, because we do see it's a little bit messy with those wicks here. So if we jump to the 4-hour, we do see that's a much cleaner line on the 4-hour. We see the wick here, and the buyers picked it right back up. So for me, I'd like to see something like this, where we see a hold on the 4-hour below the zone. The next candle is a doji or a reverse hammer candle or some wick protruding close to our supply zone, and then we see a move to the downside. Except this time, I think it's going to be a lot more aggressive to the downside, but I still want to see the 4-hour close, a pullback, and then a push to the downside. So I'm not looking to short this yet. I do need to see some confirmation before I enter, but that is the overall trade that I'm looking to see if I want to enter. So this basically is the setup I want to see, but right here. Ideally, we could see a push to the downside like this. Let's just get our arrow. We could see a push to the downside like this, and then if we even get a pullback, we have this trend line right here. That is going to be our key zone of confluence, because we have the previous support, new resistance, as well as the descending zone connecting the lower highs. We could see a new low, and then our lower high could just be touching what's already connecting our lower highs. And then we would look to enter our short right around here. We would have our stop loss above the trend line right there, just so we give us a little bit of room, and then we have a lot of room to go before our first take profit. Probably my first take profit is going to be probably around here. I do not take profit if it's under 2 in 99.5% of cases. And I really like to make sure that I at least have a 2 before I really like to take profit. Obviously, there's some circumstances where I'll take profit a little bit early, but that's definitely kind of a rule of thumb that I generally like to play with. And then the take profit beyond that is looking pretty good. We will have to look back on the bigger time frames. Let's just go back to the daily chart. And then we'll be having to look at these zones here for potential take profit zones. We could see a nice little zone around here, which could be a key zone, which is going to be around a 2.3. Yep, that's going to be the first take profit. And then we could see another zone if we just zoom in around here. Around there might be a second take profit, which would then have a risk reward of 3.6, 3.7, which is really good. And then we can just continue on. This is going to be a very key zone right around here, and that's probably going to be the end if it even gets down to that level. So I'm not really going to be looking at Ethereum for the bounce. I'm mainly going to be looking at BTC for the bounce, because BTC is the market leader. So I will be looking at supports here, but as long as BTC is sticking with its trade, I'm just going to hold on until BTC comes around here, because like I said before, BTC is the market leader, and I always like to look at what Bitcoin is doing when I'm trading my altcoins. So I hope you got something from this video. I know I talk sometimes pretty quickly, and it might not be the easiest to digest, but I do like to go through things pretty thoroughly. That means I talk a lot about the subject, which is not a problem. I absolutely love it. So I hope that you got something from it. If you have a request, if you are trading cryptocurrencies and are interested in trading cryptocurrencies, we have an absolutely free Discord to join, where I give you guys a lot more updates than what this YouTube channel is showing. We also have a paid subscription where you can learn how to actually trade similar to our trading styles as well if you're interested, but that's all within our Discord. So if you have any requests for upcoming videos, please feel free to drop a comment. We will actually act on them if they're good ideas. So until next time, happy trading and have a great week.